Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a case today that really shook a quiet part of Egypt back in 2009. You need to picture this. A small village, very tight-knit, where trust is just everything. And then this creeping terror hits because someone is targeting children. And the worst part, it wasn't some outsider. It was someone they knew, someone they loved even.
Exactly. We're talking about Kafr Aksha in the Garbia Governorate. And the setting, the whole small town dynamic is so crucial here. When these kids started disappearing, the police, well, they were in a tough spot. In a place like that, an outsider sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right, so you'd assume it'd have to be an outsider.
You would.
Yeah.
But the horror here, and what makes this case so chilling from a psychological standpoint, was the slow dawning realization that the monster wasn't some stranger. He was right there playing games with the kids next door, someone wrestling with this really deep internal conflict.
So our mission today is to walk through this timeline, look at the methods, which were honestly quite bizarre, almost ritualistic, and try to understand the psychology, the trauma that turned Mohamed Al-Azraq, call him the blue one, from this respected kid into, well, the village killer. It all kicked off horrifically in January 2009. The whole village just kind of held its breath when 8-year-old Fairs vanished, just gone, in a place where everybody knows everybody's business.
Mm-hmm. He was missing for 2 weeks, 15 days. And like you said, in that kind of community, that's an unimaginable length of time. Everyone was searching fields, canals, everywhere. The silence, the not knowing must have been unbearable.
And the search ended. Where?
Near the village cemetery. A farmer found him. And the initial scene, the forensic details, immediately set off alarm bells. Fairs was naked from the waist up, but the way he was killed, it showed this chilling level of control.
It wasn't just a random frenzied attack then.
No, not at all. The autopsy showed he was suffocated or strangled first. So the killer made sure he was subdued, possibly already dead, before the other violence. And then came the stabbing. 3 deep wounds, right in the abdomen. But the thing that truly terrified everyone, police included, was what was done to his eyes. The right eye was completely removed, just gone.
Gone.
And the left eye was so damaged, the report described it as exploded inside his face.
Wow. That specific detail, attacking the eyes like that, it screams something personal, doesn't it? Or maybe ritualistic?
It does. It points to something beyond just killing. But even with that kind of stark, brutal evidence, the investigation just hit a wall. For 7 months, nothing. You had this grieving village, a cold case file, and a killer just walking among them.
And you can imagine the fear during those 7 months.
Oh, absolutely. It festered. Parents wouldn't let their kids play outside alone. The whole rhythm of village life changed. And because the police had no answers, people started filling the void with their own theories, some leaning towards the unbelievable.
Which brings us to August 2009, 7 months of fear, and then it happens again.
Yes. This time, it was 12-year-old Saad. And the tragic irony. He'd been friends with Fairs, the first victim. When Saad vanished, everyone knew. They just knew it wasn't over.
How long was he missing?
Thankfully, not as long. His body was found just 2 days later. And the way he was found is almost something out of a movie. A local farmer, Regab, was with his donkey near his land. The donkey just stopped, refused to go near this pile of straw.
The animal sensed something.
Apparently. Regab went to check it out, moved some straw, and saw a pair of small legs sticking out.
Oh, God. And the forensics didn't match Fairs.
Exactly. The method was identical. Strangled first, then 3 stab wounds to the abdomen. Same pattern. But this is interesting. This time, no attack on the eyes. No organs removed.
So the killer repeated the core method but changed that one very specific detail. Why?
That's the question, isn't it? It shows he could replicate the killing precisely, but also had the control to, let's say, modify the finishing touches based on whatever was driving him at that specific moment.
Meanwhile, the village must have been losing its mind.
Completely.
Yeah.
Collective hysteria is probably the right term.
Right.
The police still had nothing concrete, so you had these 2 competing narratives taking over. On one hand, you had the older generation reviving this old folklore legend, Al-Nada.
Al-Nadaha, yeah. The female djinn who supposedly lures boys to the water and kills them.
Right. And look, in a tight-knit community reeling from something so horrific, it's almost easier psychologically to blame a supernatural entity.
Than to think it's someone you know, someone you trust.
Exactly. Or, the slightly more modern theory, fueled by Fairs' missing eye, was an organ trafficking gang, again, an external threat. Both theories, in a way, serve to protect the community's internal sense of safety, their trust in each other. It let Mohammed stay hidden in plain sight.
So the police are chasing down Jinn's stories and organ trafficking rumors. Months go by after Saad's murder, still no leads, despite 2 killings with the exact same signature. The pressure must have been intense. But the break didn't come from forensics, did it? It came from something much more human.
It did. It's an incredibly dramatic scene. This is October 2009, 2 months after Saad died. Saad's father's at the cemetery, visiting his son's grave.
Okay.
And he sees Mohammed, the 18-year-old, there. But Mohammed isn't just mourning, he's crying hysterically, completely breaking down in front of the tombstone.
But wait, Muhammad was known to be close to Saad, right? Wouldn't extreme grief be expected even 2 months later?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But the father said it felt wrong. It wasn't quiet sorrow, it was this loud, performative, almost theatrical breakdown. And the father, in his own grief, just had this sudden gut feeling, a terrible intuition that this level of agony, so public weeks later, it felt like guilt, overwhelming guilt.
Wow, what did he do?
He just snapped. Right there in the cemetery, he started shouting, accusing Mohammed publicly, screaming that Mohammed must be the killer. Then the father himself collapsed. Someone called the police to deal with the commotion.
And when the father could speak again, he gave the police the crucial context.
Yes, he told them about Mohammed's relationship with Saad, how close they were, despite the 6-year age gap. Almost obsessive, the father felt. And then he dropped the bombshell. He'd been so uncomfortable with it, he'd recently forced Saad to end the friendship. He'd even sent Mohammed a text telling him to leave Saad alone.
Okay, that changes everything. Suddenly, it's not just grief. It's potential motive. Revenge, maybe?
Precisely. The police investigation shifted instantly. They weren't looking for a random monster anymore. They were looking at this specific young man with deep emotional ties to the victim, who now had a reason to feel rejected, maybe vengeful, and who was displaying this incredibly intense, maybe guilt-ridden behavior.
So let's paint a clearer picture of the suspect. Mohamed Al-Azraq, the blue one, 18 years old.
And by all accounts, a model young man. From a good family, respected, known throughout the village for being kind, especially to kids. He had a computer, which was maybe less common then, and he let the kids play games, give them little gifts, totally trusted.
The perfect camouflage.
Absolutely staggering, the duality. Once the police started looking at him, instead of past him, the pieces fell into place quickly. He was friends with both Fairs and Saad, deeply connected.
And Saad was last seen with Mohammed's bike, wasn't he?
That's right. Plus, other villagers started confirming, oh yeah, Mohammed spent hours crying at the cemetery. Behavior they'd previously just dismissed as grief because, well, everyone knew how much he loved Saad.
But there were other signs, weren't there? Things that suggested a deeper disturbance before the murders even came to light. Like the neighbor's testimony. Ali.
Yes, that's incredibly unsettling. Ali reported that he'd repeatedly seen Mohammed sneaking onto his property and stealing boys' clothing off the clothesline, but only new clothes.
Stealing them to wear.
No, that's the disturbing part. He'd take these new clothes, cut them into pieces, burn them, and then bury the ashes and remnants on his own rooftop.
That's ritualistic. It's not theft for gain. It's like a symbolic destruction.
Exactly. Destroying symbols of childhood, perhaps. Or innocence.
Yeah.
It's a huge red flag for some kind of deep-seated psychological turmoil. Repressed anger, issues with identity. Something was clearly very wrong there long before the killings.
And then there was the attempted murder. Amure, another friend.
Right. Mohammed confessed to this later. He lured his friend Emmer near a canal after morning prayers. Why? Because Emmer had apparently made fun of how Mohammed looked.
So a slight, maybe teenage insult nearly led to murder?
It seems so. Mohammed admitted he was going to kill him. He had the knife out, but he stopped. He spared Emmer only when the boy, terrified, started crying and reciting the Shahada, the declaration of faith.
Wow. So there was a line he wouldn't cross? Or maybe just a brief moment of conscience?
It seems like it.
Right.
That moment, whether it was religious fear or empathy for the crying boy, it stopped him. It shows he wasn't completely controlled by the impulse to kill. There was some kind of internal toggle switch, maybe. But the fact that the impulse was there over something so minor, it's deeply troubling.
So the police finally have their focus. They approach Mohammed. What happens?
They questioned him calmly, apparently at the factory where he worked, showed him the photos of Fairs and Saad, and he just broke. Instantly collapsed, hysterical crying, confessed to everything, both murders, the attempted murder of Mr. Relea, just poured it all out.
How did he manage it? The planning, the execution, while keeping up this friendly facade?
This is where you see the intelligence, the cold calculation behind it all. Take Fair's murder. Mohammed knew he needed a rock-solid alibi, so what did he do? He timed the murder for the halftime break of a massive football match. Al-Ali versus Zamalek.
The biggest match in Egypt, basically. Everyone would be watching.
Everyone. He went to a local coffee shop, watched the first half, even celebrated a goal, apparently. Then, during that short 15-minute halftime window, he slipped out, lured fares, killed him, disposed of the body nearby, and was back in his seat for the second half.
That's chillingly brilliant. Dozens of witnesses placing him at the coffee shop around the time fares must have been taken.
Precisely. That's not impulsive. That's planned. Carefully planned. He created his own alibi using the biggest distraction available.
And this specific acts, removing Fares' eye, for instance, what was his reasoning for that?
His confession revealed this really strange mix of superstition and pragmatism. He said he believed that a killer's image gets imprinted on the victim's eye, like a final snapshot.
Seriously?
Yeah. So by removing Ferris's right eye and chucking it in a drain somewhere, he thought he was literally destroying the evidence of his identity recorded in the eye. It's this folk belief layered onto a brutal murder.
And Saad, the boy he was so close to. Why kill him? If it wasn't superstition, what was it?
That, according to his confession, was pure revenge, directed at Saad's father. When the father forced the end of their friendship via that text message, telling Mohamed to delete his number, Mohamed felt utterly rejected, betrayed. His response wasn't sadness, it was rage. He wanted to, in his words, crush the father. And the way to do that was to take away the person the father loved most.
Turning that intense closeness into the ultimate weapon. Horrifying.
It really is. And then the final piece of the method, stripping the bodies naked.
Why? Was there a sexual motive?
No. Apparently not.
Yeah.
That, again, was cold calculation. He stripped them so that the stray dogs in the village would be more likely to consume the remains quickly. He wanted the evidence gone, fast, destroy the bodies, destroy any trace of what he did.
So you have superstition, revenge, calculated evidence disposal, all wrapped up in this friendly persona. What did the psychologist make of it all?
They pointed towards severe childhood abuse. Mohamed apparently claimed his own father beat him constantly, humiliated him. The theory was that he was trying to sort of reclaim or relive a lost childhood through these younger boys, create the connection, the affection he never had.
And when those connections were threatened, like with Saad's father intervening.
That original trauma, that deep-seated rage from his own abuse got reactivated and unleashed as violence. It's a tragic, twisted cycle. And it's perhaps telling that when he finally confessed, he requested the death penalty for himself.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How do you square the two Mohammeds, the kind, gift-giving friend and the meticulous, brutal killer?
That's the core psychological puzzle here. The dissonance is profound. The ability to compartmentalize to that degree, to be loved and trusted by the families of the very children you've murdered or planned to murder, it's almost incomprehensible. It speaks to a profound disconnect, maybe sociopathy, maybe something else rooted in that trauma.
And the takeaways for us, for you listening.
Okay.
Well, it goes beyond just this one awful case, obviously. It really highlights how vital open communication with kids is, knowing who they're spending time with, understanding the dynamics of those friendships.
Absolutely. And maybe even more importantly, it's a stark reminder to take mental health seriously, to treat psychological trauma, especially from things like childhood abuse, with the same urgency we treat physical illness. Mohamed showed signs, the clothes-burning ritual, the extreme reactions. These were signals. They were missed or dismissed as quirks.
Yeah, people saw them but didn't connect the dots or didn't understand the potential severity.
And we have to learn to see those signs, to not dismiss them. Unaddressed trauma, deep psychological pain. It can build pressure, and sometimes, tragically, it finds devastating outlets.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. That breakdown at Saad's grave, Mohamed crying hysterically. Given everything we know now, the calculation, the later confession, the death wish, was that a genuine moment? Was it his conscience finally overwhelming him, pushing him towards getting caught? Or was it perhaps one last, maybe even unconscious act? The final scene needed to complete the narrative of a tortured soul. What do you think?